Today I will present about information processing models. What is information processing model? Information processing model is a framework that used to describe how individuals perceive, think, and remember information. So basically it draws an analogy between the human mind and computer and viewing the minds as an information processor. These processing models have a few stages and components. First one is the sensory input. Sensory input is where the information from the environment that we receive through sensory organs such as eyes, ears, and basically the input is raw and unprocessed. The second one is sensory memory. Sensory memory is the initial stage that briefly stored for a very short duration. It helps to prevent information overload by only passing on selected informations. Before we go to short memory, it undergoes attention process, which is focusing on specific aspects of the sensory input. So it determines which information moves from sensory memory to short-term memory. After that, it undergoes short-term memory that have limited capacity storage that holds a small amount of information for a short duration of time, which is 20 seconds. So actively processes and manipulates information needed for immediate tasks. After that, we go to encoding. Encoding is a process of converting information from sensory input into a form that can be stored in short-term or long-term memory. After that, it will go to long-term memory, which is the last part. Long-term memory is the permanent memory or unlimited storage capacity that holds information for a long period, potentially a lifetime. The last one is retrieval, the backward of the process that recalling stored information from long-term memory to short-term memory or directly into conscious awareness.
Memory. Memory is the retention of information over time. There are three types of memory: sensory memory, working memory, and long-term memory. The first one is sensory memory, which is also known as sensory register. Sensory memory only holds information in our senses for a very brief period of time, typically less than 1 second. There are a few types of sensory memory: haptic, echoic, and iconic. For haptic memory, which is involved in our sense of touch, it can hold information in less than 1 second long. Echoic 3 to 4 seconds long. Iconic 0.5 seconds long.
The next one is working memory. What is working memory? Working memory is the component of memory that holds and actively thinks about and processes a limited amount of information for a short time, or we can call it as short-term memory. It works when central execution integrates information from phonological loop and visual-spatial working memory, and it plays important roles in attention, planning, and organizing behavior. The next one is limitation of working memory. Cognitive load is the amount of mental activity imposed on working memory. It contains two, which is number of elements and complexity of the elements.
Next is strategies to reduce cognitive loads. The first one is chunking. Chunking is the process of breaking down the complex information into smaller parts. For example, creating the mnemonic or acronym for memorizing. The second strategy is developing automaticity. It is the process of making the task become automatic. For example, practicing learning guitar consistently and repeatedly, which can allow our brains to make the task of learning guitar become less cognitively demanding. The last one is using distributed processing. For example, when learning the new language, distributed processing will allow our brain to gradually master the language by dividing the learning process into smaller and manageable parts. Long-term memory is a component of memory that stores knowledge and skills for a very long period of time, often for years and even a lifetime. Long-term memory will be divided into two types, which is procedural memory and declarative memory. For procedural memory is about the memory on how to do things. For example, we know the steps to drive. And for declarative memory will be also divided into two parts, which is episodic memory and semantic memory. For episodic memory is a memory of specific event when we remember specific event in our life. For example, the graduation event. For semantic memory is about the memory that stores our general knowledge. For example, we know the basic mathematical formula.
Memory process. There are three stages of memory process, which are encoding, storage, and retrieval. The first one is encoding. Encoding means getting information into memory. The second one is storage, which means retraining information over time. Our brains take the encoded information and place it in storage. Storage is creation of a permanent record of information. The last one is retrieval. Retrieval means taking information out of storage.
I'm going to talk about encoding and retrieval. First, what is encoding? Encoding is the act of getting information into our memory system through automatic or effortful processing. This means information that we get or collect from our surrounding is an input into our memory system, and it can be any kind of input, like for example sound, color, object, or it can be any movement. There is 3 types of encoding: acoustic, visual, tactile, and semantic. Next, what is retrieval? Retrieval is the act of getting information out of memory storage back into conscious awareness. It's like similar how you're finding and opening the paper that had previously saved to your computer. There is 3 types of retrieval, which is recall, recognition, and relearning.
Attention is focusing of mental resources. At any time, we can pay attention to only a limited amount of information. There are several types of attention. Selective attention focuses on specific aspect of experience while ignoring others. In other words, selective attention refers to our ability to focus on the most important information. Divided attention concentrates on more than one activity at the same time. Divided attention is the ability to pay attention to 2 tasks at once, such as cooking a meal while talking to a friend, or driving a car and talking to a passenger at the same time. Neither activity are stopped in order to carry out the other activity. Next, sustained attention. Maintain attention over an extended period of time. Sustained attention refers to the ability to maintain attentional focus on relevant stimuli. Lastly, executive attention, which are planning actions, allocating attention to goals, monitoring progress on tasks. The length of time children can pay attention increases as they get older. An increase in executive attention supports the rapid increase in effortful control required to effectively engage in complex academic tasks. As children grow, their abilities to direct selective attention and to divide attention also improve. Students with attention deficit hyperactive disorder (ADHD) having significant attention problems. As you can see here, these are the strategies for helping students to pay attention. Step 1. Encourage students to pay close attention and minimize distractions. Step 2. Use cues and gestures to signal something important. Step 3. Help students generate their own cue or catchphrase form when they need attention. Step 4. Make learning interesting. Step 5. Use media, social, and technology effectively. Last step, focus on active learning.
So here is the minimum and maximum attention span of students starting from pre-kindergarten to grade 12.
Forgetting is loss of memory or inability to retrieve information from memory. Why learners sometimes forget? So the first causes is by interference. Interference occurs when new information disrupts the recall of previously learned information or vice versa. Next, we go to the second one, which is decay of memory traces. Physical or chemical changes in the brain associated with a memory, so it can decay over time if not reinforced. The third one is the reconstruction error. In the context of memory, refers to inaccuracies or distortions that can occur during the process of retrieving and reconstructing stored information. The fourth one is the failure to store. Failure to store is creating associations or links between new information and the existing one. And the last one is inadequate in encoding. If the information is not encoded effectively during the learning process, it may not be stored in memory properly. So that's all from our groups. Thank you.